Hey everyone, thank you for viewing this training series on wastewater math. I hope you all find it beneficial, whether you're trying to pass an exam or just wanting to refresh your knowledge. I hope you find this series useful. This first video in the series is going to be very basic. We want to set a foundation that we can later build upon. The main thing that we're going to be going over in this video is finding the volume of different shapes. The main shapes that we use in the plants are the rectangle and the cylinder. So a rectangle is going to be like your sand filters, your aeration basin, maybe your primaries depending on where you're at, and then your cylinders are going to be like your primaries and your secondary clarifiers. Or if you're trying to find like how much flow, or we'll actually go through flow in the next video, but how much water can actually fit into a pipeline, you'll also use like the cylinder tank, or a channel. You'll use the rectangle shape here. So the basic formula you're going to use for volume is the volume equals the length times the width times the height. Another way you can look at height is as depth. As you'll see here coming up, you're not actually always going to want the entire height of the rectangle. Sometimes you'll just want the depth of like the water in the rectangle. So sometimes remembering that this is length times width times the depth can be beneficial. So this is going to be your length, and then this is going to be your width, and then this is going to be your height. So the formula for a cylinder then is actually very similar, but you have this number 0.785 because it is a circle. You got to use this 0.785, and that can be found in your formulas and conversion tables. Usually on the last page you'll find this number, so you don't necessarily have to memorize it. It is a good number to know, but don't necessarily have to memorize it. So you're going to do 0.785 times the diameter squared times the depth. I'm just going to write the depth. Can be height, but the same kind of thing. If there's water only filled up to here, then you'll just use the depth of that water. So your diameter, of course, is going to be going all the way across the length of the circle, and then your depth is going to be your sidewall, or the height of your water. So let's get right into some examples. So let's say we have a tank that is, we'll say it's 60 foot in length, and the width we'll say is 15, and the height we'll say is 10 foot. So we have the length is going to be 60 foot, and then the width is going to be 15 foot, and the height is going to be 10 foot. So using our formula, all you have to do is plug in all your numbers. So you got your length times your width, and then times your height. So you just throw that into your calculator. And you get 9,000. And that is 9,000 foot. Each of these are foot, so it's 9,000 foot. It's 3 of them, 3 sides, cubic foot. That's one way to remember that. So that means cubic foot looks like a cube. Cubic foot, there's 3 of them. The 3 is for cubic. 9,000 cubic foot. So if we were to do the same thing for the cylinder here, let's say we have a cylinder that is, we'll just use 60 foot again, and we'll use 25 foot for the height. So you can write down your formula, 0.785 times the diameter squared, which is basically just the diameter times the diameter, and then you multiply that by the height. Alright, so when you multiply all that out, you get 70,650. Again, cubic foot. Alright, so we have that foundation, so let's build on it a little bit. If we take this this 9,000 foot cubed. Well, let's just start a new one. All right. So let's say we have a rectangle, and it is, we'll say 75 foot this time, by 25 foot, by 10 foot. And say this time we want to find out how much water we can fit inside of this tank. And instead of just finding the volume, we're going to find how much volume of water we can fit in this tank. So you do your calculation, your 75 times 25 times 10, and you get 18,750 cubic foot. Now on your test, when you got to pay attention to the question, because when you're taking like an exam, it may say what is the volume of the tank in gallons, and you may do your length times width times height, get your number, and it'll likely, when you have your A, B, C, and D, likely one of those is going to be this number right here, and you're going to say, oh great, that was easy, and you're going to circle that number and move on. But you have to pay attention to the question, because if it asks for the volume of the tank in gallons, you have another step that you have to do. You actually have to go to your conversion table and find out how many gallons are in 1 cubic foot. And all you have to do is multiply this number by 7.48. So that's another number you can memorize, but it is located in the back of this conversion table. So you just take this result, multiply it by 7.48. So you got 18750, 18750 times 7.48, and you get 140,250 gallons, because we've converted it from cubic foot to gallons. So this would actually be your answer. You'd want to make sure that you mark that down as your answer in gallons. So let's do the same thing here with a cylinder. Say we want to take this 60 by 25 cylinder, and we want to find out how much water we can fit in there. So we do the cubic foot formula. We get this, multiply it by the 7.48, and what do we get? 7065. This calculator doesn't like to input my numbers. 0.48. So we get 528,462 gallons can fit inside that cylinder. All right, so let's go one step forward. We've got a rectangle. Now this rectangle is going to be, we'll say 20 by 12 by 15. So what we want to find out is if we have a water depth of 11 foot, there's 11 foot of water in here, so this tank isn't completely full. What's the volume of the water? How many gallons of water is in this tank if it's only full 11 foot? Alright, so we'll do the same. First we got to find the volume, so the same length times width times height that we've used. But remember when I was talking about the height and the depth, instead of using this height, we are going to use the 11 foot height. So you got 20 foot by 12 by 11 foot. And that is going to give you 2,640 cubic feet. But wait, remember you're not done. You still have to multiply that by 7.48 in order to get your gallons. So you were at 19,747 gallons of water. Say you add in a foot of water, all you would do is change that to the 12, and you can calculate that out as well. So just remember that height can also be the depth of water. So for a pipeline, if you want to take this cylinder, instead of filling up like a clarifier, if we've got to fill up like a pipeline, it is basically the same, but instead of your depth, it's going to be the length of your entire length of your pipe. So let's say that we have a 2,000 foot pipe that we want to fill up with water, and say that it is 12 inches in diameter. So 12-inch diameter pipe, 2,000 foot long. So how do we find out how much we fill this up to, or how much water it'll take to fill this up? You'll want to, so you take your formula is 0.785 times the diameter squared, which we have 12 inches, times 12 inches times 2,000. So what I always do, so that we don't have to do any kind of conversion later on, you want to have all of your factors being the same. So this is in inches and this is in foot. So I would right off the bat change this to 1 foot so that they match. If not, you may get confused and later on you may forget to go back to foot. So I like to do it right off the bat. So I know this is, instead of 12 inches, is 1 foot in diameter, and 2,000 is the length. So now you'll take your 0.785 times 1 times 2,000. And since we're looking for gallons, you can even throw in the times 7.48 and get that out of the way. So when we multiply this out, 5 times 1 times 1 times 2,000 times 7.48. Let's see, we got 11,740, I'm going to round up to 4 gallons. And that'll be your answer. So you can do this later if you want to get the cubic foot first, if that helps you, and then you want to convert it to gallons. You can do this later, or you can throw it all in the one problem and just multiply it straight out. So let's do just one more of those. So draw out our cylinder. Let's say this is 1,320 foot by, we just have a 6-inch pipe. So remember, we want to convert that to foot because we want them to be the same. So we're going to say that's 0.5 foot. So you take your formula, 0.785 times 0.5 times 0.5 times 1320 times 7.48. So that'll give us 0.785 times 0.5 times 0.5 times 1320 times 7.48. That gives us 1,938 gallons. All right, let's do another rectangle. One thing about math is repetition is everything. The more you do it, the easier it becomes, the more second nature it becomes to you. So let's just do one more example. We're gonna say, let's talk about a trench. We need this trench, or if you don't want to look at it as a trench, you can look at it as like a channel. That's a horrible drawing, but look at it as a channel. We're gonna say it's 2.5 foot wide, 2.5 foot wide, by 4 foot in height. We're gonna say 900 foot long. Again, this is a horrible drawing, but length of it is 900 foot. So let's say that we have to, the question, instead of finding the cubic foot, let's say that it asks for the cubic yards of the trench. Again, you need to read every single question. It may throw something in there like that, tell you to find the cubic yards instead of the cubic foot. To do this, you'll just do the same formula. So you got 900 foot times 2.5 times your height of 4. And that gives us 9,000 cubic foot. So again, that answer is probably going to be there, but we're not done yet. We want to find the cubic yards. So to convert cubic foot into cubic yards, you just divide it by 27, and that again is located here in your conversion table near the last page. So you got 9,000 divided by 27. That is 333 cubic yards. All right, that's pretty much the basic. That's going to be our foundation for this this thing of wastewater and math. Volume of a rectangle. Just be careful for all the tricks. They will try to trick you, and you'll think it's the easiest problem ever, but you'll get it wrong. Same with a cylinder. Pay attention to the questions that they're asking. Pay attention for the units that they want. Make sure if it's in foot, if they want inches, if yard, cubic foot, whatever it is. Just make sure you pay attention to it, and then just follow your formula, and practice, practice, practice. Just keep running these over and over and over again. The more you do it, the easier it becomes. Alright, that'll be it for this video. The next video, I plan on doing some flows. So flows going into these rectangles, flows going into these cylinders, and how to tell how much flow is going into the tank or cylinder or whatever you're having. So I'll see you there.